Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new and improved version of The Wrap, Michigan Medicine's employee podcast. I'm Dan Ellman with the Department of Communication.
And I'm Hunter Mischel, also with the Department of Communication. And while you've likely seen Dan's face before, you probably haven't seen me. But I'll be co-hosting with Dan, so you better get used to me.
That's right, we're moving in a slightly different direction with The Wrap. And while we'll still bring you all the important information you need to know at Michigan Medicine, we'll do our best to do so in an informal, conversational, and sometimes fun way.
And speaking of fun, there's nothing more fun than listening to The Wrap. At least that's what Dan told me to say. So be sure to go back and find your favorite episodes on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any other podcast hosting platform. You can also find them on our Michigan Medicine YouTube channel.
All right, as we mentioned, we're still going to keep you informed of all that's happening within the organization. And we'll do that by bringing in experts who can take a deeper dive into important topics. Today, we're welcoming Brian Cole, the Associate Director of Operations for Organizational Learning.
Brian is here to talk about mid-year evaluations, and because believe it or not, it's halfway through the fiscal year. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, first, can you talk a bit about why performance management and the evaluation process is so important to leaders?
Absolutely, Daniel. For me, it's important because it really encourages and requires a year-round collaboration with my staff and also conversations with my staff. It gives me a chance to focus on really the positive environment and the unique value that each of my staff brings to Michigan Medicine each and every day. And being that this is about the end of January, it's a perfect time of year to check in for mid-year check-ins, and it would be a great time for other leaders to check in if they haven't done so already. You know, it gives us a chance right now. We have a good understanding of how progress has been made on goals and any roadblocks that people have run into, and it gives us a chance to have conversations around that and to make adjustments and recalibrate as needed. Really, the goal of this is at the end of the year is to make sure that both the leader and the staff member are successful in what they're trying to achieve. Because when the leader and the staff member are successful, so is Michigan Medicine.
Awesome. I think you already covered this a little bit, Brian, but can you talk more on what are some tips maybe that leaders and staff can follow to help them prepare for those mid-year reviews?
Absolutely. Great question, Hunter. In this process, I actually get to play the role of the leader and the staff member, so I can provide tips for both. From a leader standpoint, I already have too many meetings and I don't want to add more meetings. So really what I've been able to do is to leverage the existing one-on-ones that I have with staff and have the mid-year check-in during the existing one-on-one meetings. I tend to have these conversations. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes. And a quick tip for the viewers of The Wrap is that I had one of my staff members be kind enough to allow us to record a check-in so that others could see what it's like. So coming out in headlines later this week, people are getting an advanced preview that there will be a link where they can actually watch one of the check-ins between myself and one of the staff members. From a staff standpoint, I report to Sonia. So from a staff standpoint, really what I like to do is review my goals ahead of time that I set towards the beginning of the year. And I like to make some notes on these goals as well, because I only have to think back 6 months at this time of year. And if I make these dated notes at the end of the year, it helps reduce the burden on me as well, because I only have to think back to January. And if I do finish those ahead of time, I like to send them to Sonia so that she can have a chance to review them before we meet for our one-on-one. So those would be a couple tips I would have from the leader standpoint and from the staff standpoint.
So are there sort of, resources and tools out there for everyone to prepare for these meetings?
Yeah, there are. One of my favorite resources are exploration questions. And these are questions that were developed in collaboration with the Ross School of Business. And they're these positively framed questions to help guide conversations throughout the year. Some of my favorite are the mid-year check-in questions where we ask, what should we celebrate? How are you progressing on your goals? And what adjustments do we need to make? And my favorite to ask of Sonia is, how can she help support me in my success for the second half of the year? So I think it's important to use these exploration questions. And another tip for folks that are watching The Wrap, if you'd like to check these out ahead of time, they are going to be linked in the upcoming headlines article that's coming out. But you can go into Google and type in UMich and exploration questions. And as soon as you hit enter, that's going to actually be the top search result. So one last thing is it's important to understand that at mid-year check-ins, we're not being formally graded or evaluated at mid-year. It's just a way to check in and to make adjustments and to adapt to our environment as our environment has changed throughout the year. It's a great way for us to connect also for those of us that are working remotely and don't get a chance to see staff members or the people we report to that often.
Now, talking about the environment changing throughout the year, obviously things have changed in Michigan medicine. It seems like day to day or hour to hour, obviously with COVID-19, right? And everything that's been happening. What if someone's goals have changed because of COVID-19 or other factors that are taking place? Is it too late to make changes to some of the goals that you had originally set for the fiscal year?
Absolutely not. It has been a crazy year for almost all of us. Things have changed, like you said, Daniel, on almost a daily basis. This is really what mid-year reviews are designed for. They allow us to make changes as our environment changes and allow us to adapt and adjust. So there may be some people that had a goal at the beginning of the year. They put a lot of effort into it. And then all of a sudden now in January, maybe they're not focusing on that anymore. The valuation and this mid-year check-in allows us to make sure that we get credit for those goals. So we can write up how we've progressed on that goal. And maybe our focus has changed in January. So we can make a note there. And it allows us as staff to get credit for the work that we've done, even if it's not a goal that we're focusing on for the second half of the year.
Awesome. Are there any other exciting developments that you're kind of looking forward to that are coming out of organizational learning?
Yeah, thank you for asking, Hunter. How much time do we have? But one of the ones that I would like to share is we realize that in this environment, people often don't have the time to sit through half day or full day trainings. So in organizational learning, we're actually rolling out something that's called micro learning. And this is really learn, try, and apply in 45 minutes or less. So what we're trying to do is meet people where they're at, knowing that people don't have a lot of time to attend a session. Some of the ones that are being released right now are specifically relevant to the valuation. There's one on SMART goals. There's another one on prioritizing yourself. We have one on impactful conversations and one on difficult conversations. And for those people that can't attend the sessions that we're hosting, we're also going to record sessions and put them on the learning management system so that people can watch these quick videos really whenever they have time. So that's something that I'd like to share that people should stay tuned for that will be released very soon.
Well, thank you so much, Brian. Now, I know organizational learning is exciting enough, but we wanted to introduce a new, more exciting feature to the wrap, and it's called the lightning round. So we're going to ask our guests 4 questions in 1 minute, and they'll have to answer with the first thing that comes to mind. So, Brian, are you ready to be the first guest to go through the lightning round?
All right, I think I'm ready.
All right, the timer is set. What has been your favorite thing to do at home during the pandemic?
Ooh, I would say probably disc golf. It gets me outside and I've got some space around our property, so I get a chance to throw some flying discs around and get some fresh air and some exercise at the same time.
Nice. Okay, if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
Well, I think in this environment, if I could have a superpower, it would probably be some way to create an environment where people could get together and act as if they would have prior to the pandemic. I know I missed that, and hopefully, a lot of other people do too. So that would be the superpower I would have if I had a choice.
All right, 20 seconds left. If you could have one job that isn't the job you currently have, what would it be?
Ooh, maybe a job leading a podcast. I think that would be fun.
That's perfect.
Watch out, Dan. Are there any TV shows you're binging?
Let's see. There's one that we found recently on Netflix. It's really out of Australia. It's called Instant Hotel. And what they do is have people share their own house and share it like they would VRBO.
Wow. Well, you got it in. You got the words Instant Hotel in under the minute. So I'm going to give you credit for that. You did it. Thank you so much, Brian, for being here and helping our readers get to know you a little bit better. Now, if you want to go and learn more about mid-year evaluations, performance management, or organizational learning, be sure to check out this week's headline story at mmheadlines.org. That's mmheadlines.org.
Thanks for having me on the podcast. It was great to chat with you, Daniel and Hunter.
Headlines had other binge-worthy content this week. For instance, in the newsletter, we chatted with a number of employees about their COVID-19 vaccine. Dan, me and you were there at the Big House vaccine clinic the other day. What were some things that you kind of learned from that experience?
Well, I thought it was pretty amazing of an experience. In fact, we were there twice. I know they were probably your two favorite days of work in the past year, I'd have to say. But we got to, chat with employees who were getting their vaccines and just the sense of relief I think that they had that, that there's still a long tunnel ahead, but you can see that glimmer of hope and that light at the end of the tunnel. So there was definitely the sense of relief. We were also there to talk with some patients who had been getting the vaccine. And I guess relief is also the word there too, because, so much of what's been happening during COVID-19 has been unknown. You didn't know how severe it was going to get. You didn't know if you were going to get sick from it, if your loved ones were going to get sick from it. You didn't know when a vaccine was going to come out, and you didn't know when you were going to get the vaccine. And while some of those things are still up in the air, at least this is starting to answer one of those questions. So I know obviously that you were at the Big House as well. What did you sort of take away from that experience?
Well, so something similar to you, Dan, but for me, what stuck out is just the overall positive energy at this space. Whether you're getting a vaccine or giving one, I just felt like everybody was on the same team and we were all there to just put an end to COVID. So it was definitely a day that I won't ever forget. And if you haven't seen the video, please check it out. I think that kind of comes across in the stories that we captured.
Absolutely. So on top of the vaccine video, there was also a closer look at Colleague Connect, which is helping healthcare workers from across the state share best practices for treating those with COVID-19. So be sure to check that story out and much, much more at mmheadlines.org.
Okay, everybody. We know some things are different about the Wrap, but don't worry, the weekly trivia contest is still here. Last time out, we asked listeners, the first COVID-19 vaccines administered by Michigan Medicine were developed by which company? The answer is Pfizer. Congratulations to Donna Monson-Waldrop, who sent in the correct answer. Donna, a member of the Department of Communication, will be in touch shortly to help you claim your prize. Now for this week's question, here's Dan.
Thanks, Hunter. What type of goals are typically discussed as part of the mid-year reviews with supervisors? Once again, what type of goals are typically discussed as part of mid-year reviews with supervisors? You can find the answer in the recent headlines story, and once you know it, send it to headlines@med.umich.edu for the chance to win a prize. That's all the time we have for this week. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, thank you, Hunter, for joining us. We wanted to give a big shout out to all of our listeners and viewers for everything you do for patients, families, and each other.